with government to make our environments conducive for business to thrive. Good afternoon and welcome to Business News on Rstv, Channel 22 Port Harcourt. I am Catherine Ago. Federal allocation to states and local government areas may increase by 109.74% to 14.04 trillion naira in 2024. These according to the federal government's revenue projections in its revised 2024 through 2026 medium-term fiscal framework. The reports say, based on these projections, disbursement to states and local governments has been predicted to increase from the 6.69 trillion naira projected in 2023 to 14.04 trillion naira in 2024. It added that revenue available in the Federation account is expected to increase by 124.43% to 26.61 trillion naira in 2024 from 11.86 trillion naira in 2023. This projected rise in revenue is supposed to happen because of exchange rate effects, higher oil production projection, and the removal of subsidy. Meanwhile, while presenting the breakdown of the 2024 budget, the Minister of Finance and Budget Planning, Abubakar Bagudu, highlighted that the revenue generation remained the major fiscal constraint to the country's fiscal viability. The Nigerian Interbank Settlement System has directed banks and other financial institutions to disconnect switches, payment solution service providers, and super agents from its instant payment outward system. NIPS disclosed this in a circular to deposit money banks, merchant banks, switches, mobile money operators, payment service banks, microfinance banks, mortgage banks, payment solution service providers, super agents, and others. NIPS explained that listing of non-deposit taking money financial institution as beneficiaries contravenes the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) and guidelines of electronic payment of salaries, pensions, suppliers, and taxes in Nigeria dated February 2014. It said the directive is to disconnect switches, payment solution service providers, and super agents from NIPS instant payment outward system. This means that financial technology companies that appear on the NIPS instant payment platforms as banks receiving deposits by generating reference numbers that mimic bank accounts and by utilizing core banking applications will no longer carry out such practice. It added that the name of any accounts credited by fintechs will not appear in its list of banks when a customer attempts to credit such an account, but outward fund transfer will remain operational rather. The directive does not affect those fintechs that partner with banks. Such collaborations allow them to generate dedicated accounts that carry the bank's names. Nigeria Employers Consultative Association (NECA) has expressed disgust over the planned exit of Procter & Gamble P&G not long after the GSK NAPDAC exited Nigeria. The employers' body blamed stringent regulatory and legislative activities, insufficient infrastructure, and policy inconsistencies for the difficulties faced by businesses. The umbrella body and voice of businesses in Nigeria, however, commended the federal government for supporting the small and medium enterprises, SMEs, and manufacturers through the disbursement of the 125 billion naira presidential palliative program. Speaking, NECA's Director General Adewale Smith Oyerinde said NECA commends the federal government for supporting the small and medium enterprise and manufacturers through the disbursement of the 125 billion naira presidential palliative program. Highlighting the probable factors behind these business closures, the NECA boss asserted that the challenging business landscape marked by stringent regulatory and legislative activities, insufficient infrastructure, and policy inconsistencies all conspired to exacerbate the difficulties faced by businesses. The first crude feedstock for Dangote 650,000 barrel per day refinery According to SP Global, quoting market sources and tanker track, political fair indicated at the $1 billion set to start after the report tanker and 50,000 barrel cargo of Agbemi crude on December 6th and was discharged on Thursday. Suezmax, state-owned petroleum company, is the first of Dangote's initial crude. The giant's new plant starts to ramp up operations. The privately owned refinery was officially completed in May, but was yet oil products of domestic crude feedstock. NNPCL state recently agreed to supply 6 million barrels of stocks at the refinery in African Development Bank Group President Dr. Akinwumi Adesina has warned that a new EU carbon border tax could significantly constrain Africa's trade and industrialization progress by penalizing value-added exports including steel, cement, iron, aluminium, and fertilizers. Dr. Adesina gave this warning while addressing delegates at the Sustainable Trade African Conference held at the UAE Trade Center in Dubai. He said, while with Africa's energy deficit and reliance mainly on fossil fuels, especially diesel, Africa will be forced to export raw commodities again into Europe, which will further cause the deindustrialization of Africa. Adesina pointed out that Africa could lose up to $25 billion per annum as a direct result of the EU carbon border tax adjustment mechanism. According to data from the International Renewable Energy Agency, Africa was already being overlooked in the global energy transition. Justin Gutman, a former executive at Citizens Advice, alleges Vodafone EE 3 and 02 overcharged customers for phones and beyond the end of their contract. He is seeking damages of more than £3 billion and on behalf of 4.8 million people. Responding, EE called the claim speculative, while 02 said it hadn't been contacted. Vodafone said it didn't have sufficient detail for its legal team to access and 3 line to comment. The loyalty penalty claim, which is being filed with the Competition Appeal Tribunal, is being brought on behalf of consumers who bought contracts made up of a mobile phone and services like data, call minutes, and text. Gutman estimates that 28.2 million UK mobile phone contracts could be affected from 2007. Reports say if the claim is successful, someone who had contracts with just one of the mobile operators could get an estimation of more than £1,800. That's the size of our business news bulletin, as produced by Joy Edmond. I am Catherine Ago. Stay tuned for foreign tidbits. Good afternoon.
Audio Jungle.